What's up? Just gonna chill here and wait to see if anyone comes in. Alright, there's one person. What's up? How you doing? Just chilling. Have you ever seen in the grocery stores like different kinds of potato chips? You see among them, you see they often advertise as being hand-cooked potato chips. This is like very popular now. Have you seen this? I'm sure you have. Everywhere you go on the chips aisles, it's all hand-cooked potato chips. Well, here's my question for you. Do you really think that those potato chips are hand-cooked? I don't think so. I'm very skeptical of that. I think it's bullshit. I mean, do you really imagine that for all of the potato chips you see marketed as hand-cooked, you really think behind those potato chips there's a human being like using their hands to make those potato chips? No fucking way. I think it's bullshit. I wonder what the legal definition for, hand-cooked potato chip is. Like what exactly it has to be to meet that definition, because I bet you it's extremely low. I bet you basically they're massive vats of, see, I hate Google Plus agrees with me. Thank you for the support, my friend. I bet you that wherever they make hand-cooked potato chips, quote unquote, there are massive vats of boiling oil that cook millions of potato chips at a time. But there's just like one person who, like, I don't know, turns the thing on and off like once a day. And that counts as hand-cooked. But I'm not buying it. I'm not a dupe. Anyway, that's my little tidbit. What do you got? There's two people here. You got to give me something to go on. I hate Google Plus. You agree with my conspiracy theory? Great. Well, what do you got? What are you thinking about today? You don't want to hear me talk about potato chips all day. You have my full support, bro. Keep speaking up, no matter what. Thanks, I hate Google Plus. Good to know I have your support. I'm gonna take down these potato chip liars. It's a really important problem, actually. I think people are being lied to. Everyone thinks that they're eating hand-cooked potato chips, but they're not. They're being lied to, and they deserve to know the truth. I wonder which candidate would be best on this issue. Like, do you think Trump is gonna, really drain the swamp of these like lying potato chip manufacturers? I don't know, but I don't think Hillary Clinton would have done much better. I think she's probably in cahoots with these potato chip manufacturing liars. Anyway, what else is new? How about have you ever heard that song called the chorus goes, "Rhythm is a dancer." You know that song? Old song. Classic song. Very good song if you listen to it. Very, very energizing. Extremely exciting. It's a good song to listen to get pumped. But I was also thinking about that the other day, and that makes no sense. Rhythm is not a dancer. Like, dancers can have rhythm. Dancers can fail to have rhythm if you're a bad dancer. But rhythm is not a dancer. It can't be a dancer. So I don't know what's up with that. Do you have any clue what that could possibly mean? Like, how is rhythm a dancer? What are your thoughts on the gut-brain axis research and the newly found role of probiotics on our mental health? I take it very seriously and drink kefir every day. Nice. I think I'm not an expert on it by any means, but I've heard about that a fair bit, and I totally buy it. I think it's legit. I mean, it just makes sense that thanks to the people of the Caucasus for giving us kefir. Yes, thank you to the people of the Caucasus. Not to be confused with quote-unquote Caucasian people, because if you thank Caucasian people for giving you good things, that is considered by many to be racism and white nationalism. So better not do that. But people from the Caucasus, yes, they come up with some interesting things like kefir, and we should thank them, absolutely. I mean, anyway, I was going to go down a tangent on that, but to answer the question, yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense that the different parts of the body and the brain are just basically way more connected than most people think, or that has been able to be even demonstrated so far by science. Because the fact is that like all of science, even the most sophisticated, frontiers of science, the most, the best, most knowledgeable and expert researchers out there, the division of labor in academia is such that you can only know a little bit about one specific part of the body for the most part, the way that science is conducted. And I mean, even the very nature of scientific research often works in this kind of piecemeal linear fashion. You're only able to really tease out causal effects in one specific dimension at a time, really, with the way that we mostly think about science in a kind of linear way. So all I'm saying, the reason I'm going over this is because what it means is that we can have millions of super smart people studying different parts of the body and the brain and knowing an extraordinary amount of different parts of the body and the brain, and yet there can be interactions between different parts of the body and the brain that we still just don't know anything about, just because that's harder to study given the division of labor and our kind of linear piecemeal way of studying things. So if you're talking about sort of like nonlinear systems, complex systems, which the body almost certainly is one of those by any reasonable indication, you have to imagine that you basically have to imagine that there are really significant causal connections between different parts of the body that we don't currently know. And I suspect that the brain-gut connection that you asked about is definitely one of those. I think it's intuitively plausible also, and kind of from a personal science perspective, I think you do quickly find evidence of this when you manipulate it yourself. Okay, let me go back to what the other things that you're asking me. I missed your last comment. So, I Hate Google Plus says, my family is originally from the Caucasus region, and this location has nothing to do with what Americans think of the word Caucasian. Right. Americans are true idiots for equating this term with being white. Yeah, I agree. It's pretty funny. And actually, people from the Caucasus are not actually even very white, are they? I mean, I don't really know what the ethnic breakdown is, but like even the people who are kind of white in the Caucasus, they're often a little swarthy, aren't they? I'm totally asking. I don't know this. I imagine there are fair numbers of white people in the Caucasus. But my impression is that it's not like an especially, white area ethnically, like, I don't know, like Ireland or England or something like that. But if your family's from there, maybe you can speak to that. Full disclaimer, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just asking and sharing my impressions. There was another question. Let me find it. Here we go. It's also super ironic, says I Hate Google Plus, that half of Caucasia is currently within the Russian Federation, but it's irrelevant. Never mind. Actual Caucasian people are often discriminated against by the Russians for being blackheads. That's interesting. That's what they are actually called because they have darker hair color. Interesting. See, you learn something new every day from opening up your office hours to random people. So apparently, okay, so Caucasian people are belittled by Russians as quote-unquote blackheads because they have darker hair than Russians. Interesting. That's not what you would expect if you have a kind of naive association with the Caucasus and Caucasian people. Okay, interesting. What else do you want to talk about? I wonder how the Caucasus became associated with, or rather, I should say, I wonder how the word Caucasian became associated with being white. I don't know. What else? You want to know? Want to hear what's going on in my life? I have a PhD student who is finishing, and this is the first time I, as a academic, will be the lead supervisor for a completing PhD student. So I'm very proud of that. Here's her nice and thick PhD dissertation that I just got in the mail, because you have to get it all nice and bound. I'm going to give her a little shout out. It's a good project called, you can see it for yourself. Is this going to be reversed so you can't read it? Oh yeah, you can't read it. Well, I can just tell you. It's called Gender and Press Coverage in 2015 and 2016 UK Political Campaigns. Booyah. Her name is Beata Reck. She's a very good PhD student. The research is actually kind of interesting. It's a fairly kind of standard quantitative look at just distributions of press coverage to different candidates in the UK political system. Because, a lot of the research suggests that women have historically been underrepresented in media coverage, that they're less likely to be covered in political contexts. A lot of people have argued this for a long time. It's very much a kind of feminist presumption. And there is some evidence, there's a fair amount of evidence that has been found for that understanding of the phenomenon. But my PhD student Beata, who studied this, that's what she was expecting to find when she went into it. But she actually found that in her data, women candidates are not less likely to be covered in the media. In fact, to the degree there's a difference in gender for in terms of media coverage across the genders, she actually finds that women are a little bit more likely to be reported on. They're a little bit more likely to appear in media coverage of political, newspaper reporting. So it's a little edgy, actually, her work. It's a very kind of standard, rigorous, hard-nosed kind of empirical project. But it actually is kind of pushing back on, some kind of feminist expectations. I'm a sixth-year female PhD student. Look at that. Whoa. All right, this is super relevant then. In Erdogan's Turkey in 2017, what do you suggest I do in order not to kill myself? Wow, that's crazy. So a sixth-year female PhD student trying to finish a degree in political science in Erdogan's Turkey in 2017. That's fascinating. Well, geez, I mean, I've never been a female PhD student, so I feel quite ignorant. I've never even been to Turkey, so I feel quite ignorant about that. And so I'm afraid it's a fairly important question, and I want to respect you enough to give you the full disclosure that I feel rather incompetent to contribute much, other than the fact that I have done a PhD and I've supervised PhD students. So I don't know. I guess if you want to not kill yourself, you have to work on your own. Your own kind of psychology of how you handle, the expectations of your PhD work, and also living in a country that is seeing a lot of turmoil. I would be more than happy to think through some more specific thoughts or comments or questions with you. But as a generic kind of question, I feel unable to advise. That's why you're into probiotics. Yeah. See, I mean, I'm like, yeah, to keep saying, for sure, I feel you on that. I'm like, actually, I don't really write about this much or talk about it much in public because, it's kind of trendy stuff, and I personally not that intellectually interested in it. But I will say for sure that over the past year or two, I've been well into all kinds of self-improvement shit. And in large part just, for my own mental health. Actually, like when I first took this job a few years ago, I was like not at all prepared for the quantity of responsibilities and the workload, and I was like I fell into a pretty depressed state and was like really not coping well at all. So yeah, I had to really kind of figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. So I dedicated a lot of time to just reading up on like basic things about how the mind and body works, and things you could do to basically make yourself happier and have more energy and be more powerful and resilient and shit like that. And yeah, I did a lot of that stuff, and I messed around with a lot of like, you know, whatever quote unquote life hacks or biohacking and stuff like that. I got pretty deep into that stuff, and a lot of the things are super legit. Like, you know, different things work for different people, but as a whole, like self improvement, like the good kind of biohacking, life hacking, whatever self improvement shit is super real and super valuable and effective if you find if and when you find the things that work for you, like whether it's probiotics or whatever. Like you absolutely can go from like a pretty crappy depressed state for most people, not all people. There are certain forms of, you know, severe depression that like you probably can't fix with life hacking bullshit. But for a lot of people who are just on a kind of rut and can be fairly depressive states, you really can like pull yourself out of it just by understanding some things about your mind and your body, and experimenting with a bunch of like relatively accessible things that that are available to you. And I've had tremendous success with doing that sort of shit. So I sometimes get upset with like, you know, it's a popular kind of talking point in like radical left-wing circles to kind of make fun of like the self-help communities, to make fun of it as just kind of like bullshit marketing. Oh, they're just trying to like make, you know, provide cover for capitalism and like this individualistic philosophy of wellness and well-being, and you can like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like a lot of lefties like to make fun of that as you know, ideological kind of propaganda sort of and bullshit marketing. And, you know, I think it's actually really reprehensible to dismiss the knowledge that we have of how you can actually self-improve yourself tremendously. And I think especially in the past few decades, in the past few years even, there's been a particular proliferation of knowledge about various forms of self-improvement, like, you know, the different Reddit communities about like biohacking and stuff like that, different websites that have kind of emerged to specifically organize the knowledge around this sort of thing. The knowledge we have of how to actually solve real deep psychological problems and kind of physiological problems for yourself is substantial, and it's only recently kind of increased. And I think to kind of poo-poo that, or to call it ideology, and to underestimate the power and knowledge that people actually do have today to totally improve their selves and their lives, to poo-poo that as like propaganda is actually like really a pretty violent, resentful, nasty, and ultimately reactionary thing that really rubs me the wrong way. Yeah. Anyway, all right, it's been 18 minutes. I've only had a few people come in, so no big deal. Might just be a bad time. It's around dinner time, so maybe that's why. But whatever. To the few people who have been hanging out with me, thank you for coming in. And I hate Google+. Thank you for interacting with me. It was interesting to talk with you. And yeah, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to say too much of interest or value to your unique situation, but you know, if there's anything I can do to help in the future somehow, you know, let me know. I would be happy to talk more about it. And if you you know, if you figure out anything on that front, hit me up or whatever. Yeah, cool. All right, nice talking with everyone. See you later.